This is one amazing truffula tree. Can you imagine a place where these grow everywhere? Yes, it's called the forest, a magical place to enjoy with your family.
Ooh.
So discover the forest and explore all the wonder that's there. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Hello, and welcome to Road to Recovery, the show that offers hope and help and wholeness and healing for those who are struggling with addiction or family members or friends who may be struggling with addiction as well. It is an honor to have you joining us here today. I'm your host, Steve Rao, and I have the privilege of co-hosting this with the Executive Director of the Recovery Center, Tricia Farrar. Welcome back to Road to Recovery.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, the last time we were together, you were Tricia Saunders. What was that change there?
Yeah, sometimes things happen. So
they do.
Changed my name. Got married.
You got married?
Yes.
Okay, you didn't just change your name legally or something like that.
That's right.
You got married. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
He's obviously a wise man, and he's come to this area, so he's doubly wise to have come to this area and to have married you.
Well, that's very sweet of you. Thank you. He's a very special person, and I'm very blessed.
Wonderful. And you have children, and that transition going well for you?
Yes, it's going very well.
Wonderful.
Very exciting time.
Really glad to hear that. Now, you needed a judge, I think, or a minister to perform the ceremony. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you choose a minister or a judge?
I chose a minister.
You chose a minister.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have a judge with us today,
We do.
and I thought maybe she was here after having done your wedding. She hasn't done one of those. And her name is Terre Vandervoort, the Honorable Terre Vandervoort, who is the juvenile court judge.
Correct.
Welcome to Road to Recovery.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love having you here on this program. This issue of addiction really affects families, doesn't it, Tricia? When you're dealing with somebody with addiction, it's not just them. There are family members that are affected by this.
That's so true. It does affect the whole family, and we're seeing lots of families in need.
And you probably in your court on a regular basis are seeing young men and young ladies who have already fallen prey to this. Is that correct?
Right. So just this morning, for example, between 9 and 11:30, because I had it here, but I had two families where they lost their children because of a heroin addiction. So they were working to try to reunify, and one more successfully than the other. And that would be, those were both families I saw this morning.
So those are common occurrences for Terre
Very much,
Vandervoort.
Very much.
To what do you attribute this growth of the problem and the challenge that we're facing here with lots of families sadly going through this process?
Well, it's probably a perfect storm. You have, from the drug end of the world, you have more drugs becoming more accessible. The supply is bigger. You have more opiates on the market, both legal prescriptions that then are used illegally, or the supply. And I know law enforcement is, from my previous world in the prosecutor's office, that's a top priority in Fairfield County, is to cut the supply off. And I know when we see in the papers, you see in the paper, they found another meth house. I think what we should know as a community, yes, point of concern, but kudos to law enforcement, because at least in Fairfield County we have the resources and we are actually finding them and intercepting them, whereas some counties who say we don't have this problem, they're just not finding it. So I think in Fairfield County, from all aspects, including treatment and the courts and law enforcement, we're actually catching the problem and addressing it. So I don't think we're unique. I think we're addressing the problem.
Yeah, we've heard this, haven't we, Tricia? That we get the bad reputation of maybe being the worst in the country or something along that line. Just simply not true. We're owning up to our problem and then addressing it from a multifaceted approach.
We are, and we have such leadership in all different realms in our community working together. You mentioned law enforcement, and I see our court systems the same way, that we have leadership in our court systems too. It seems that you put the consequences out there when they need to be, but you're also willing to help families.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about that, because obviously if somebody says, I've got to go to court and I've got to see the judge and they're probably going to throw the book at me. It doesn't seem to me, at least the judges we've had on this program, that is not your goal. Your goal is not to just punish somebody. You're really trying to help them.
Right. So it's kind of neat for me because I transitioned. I spent 18 years in the adult courts prosecuting adult misdemeanor offenders. And so I've had people ask me, describe to us, Terry, what the change is like now that you are judge in the juvenile setting. Is it depressing? Are you frustrated? And it's really neat because I feel a renewed sense of hope, because the kids that we see through drug court, through just the general delinquents that commit a crime, a lot of them don't come ever back into the system. And that wasn't really quite so in the adult system. There were people that just had problems with their driver's license, but when you saw people that were committing crimes, it was more of a pattern in their life. And now with the juveniles, we get to redirect them. And you're working on supporting with education, with treatment, with mental health, and you can see them make their own paths and set a course which is completely redirected. And it's so fulfilling. I just absolutely love it.
I'm reminded of Barney Fife, who said to nip it in the bud. It's part of what you're trying to do, isn't it? To address it early enough so that there won't be that recidivism rate that you see in the adult world.
And you see a lot of strength. You hear that children are resilient, and there's a lot of strength. There's a lot of children or young people who are in household environments that I grew up in a very loving, dynamic home. I had extended loving family. So I'm, very blessed that I have that background. And you see so many of these kids that don't have parents that even care where they are in the system, that don't even come to court, that, are just like, I don't even want to be a parent. And so it's very sad from a societal standpoint that happens. But then we're blessed that we have a system in Fairfield County where CPS, Child Protective Services, the council, everyone sort of wraps around them, even though they're in foster care, and you start seeing them go to school. You start seeing their grades go back up. You start seeing them get into counseling. You see them turn 16, 17, start talking about wanting to have a career or working, whereas 5 years ago, 4 years ago, they were breaking into vacant buildings or stealing things. And so when we watch the depressing news, and I think that we should also remember that there are good acts, good things happening to people and to children where we do help them in Fairfield County.
There is hope and help and healing and wholeness for individuals and families, even our young people who are struggling.
There is, and oftentimes I have told parents the same thing. Your child getting in trouble may be a blessing, it may be the best thing that could happen to them, because now you have a team of people helping you help them get better. So.
And you're certainly a wonderful member of that team. Now, when you graduated from law school, was that one of your goals? I'd like to be a judge in the juvenile court system in Fairfield County, or how did that process happen?
Well, I guess maybe to all the young people out there, when I went to law school, I was sure that I wanted to do civil work. I didn't even take criminal law. And now I've spent 20 plus years doing criminal law.
Right.
So you don't know. You don't know what's going to light your fire. And
sure.
So I got out and I started doing civil work, and I took my first criminal defense case, and I'm like, I love this. And so, life took me a different direction, but I've never regretted it.
Lancaster prosecuting attorney, this judgeship, Steve Williams retires, it comes open. Why did you say yes to this position?
I think I was ready to look countywide, because I did prosecute countywide, but I was elected within the city, and a lot of my energies were directed towards the efforts of city council. But what I needed as a prosecutor was more countywide, because I was prosecuting families on a whole countywide basis. So I felt ready to take on a bigger responsibility. And being a mom of 2 young boys, I think it kind of makes you a foot soldier in life.
Yes.
And a working mom, I felt like working with the kids, I was ready, and I really had a calling to do that. So,
let me ask you, as a female judge, There haven't been too many of those in Lancaster and Fairfield County. I think you're number 2.
Yes.
Kathy Mowry was number 1.
And Judge Laura Smith.
Okay.
So I'm number 3.
Number 3. Not very many of those. It would seem to me that it is a perfect position for a mother in the judgeship in juvenile court, because you can understand it far better than, especially from an emotional standpoint. Do you see that as a distinct advantage for you?
Well, I think men and women think differently.
Correct.
And I think moms and dads within their own relationships take on different roles, and that's what makes marriage and moms and dads strong, is that they don't do the exact same thing or think
Right.
the same way. So I think that I bring a perspective where, just for example, one of the sanctions if you're on probation and you are violating your probation, you are not listening to your probation officer, is a program called labor. And you leave school and you go to the labor program, and it is meant to be a unpleasant physical activity,
Sure.
like scrubbing floors.
Sure.
It's meant to keep you out of trouble, because you're getting in trouble after school, but also to make you think, I don't like doing this,
Right.
so I'm going to stop doing what I got in trouble for. So it is a sanction. So we would keep the kids from after school till about 9:30 or 10 when they would get out. So in reviewing, just talking with probation officers, I'm like, okay, the kids that come to you with sanction, this is my mom brain, when are they doing their homework?
Right.
And in that sanction, we had not built a module for homework. So now you go out, you scrub your floors until you're tired, because with my boys, we're better thinkers once we're tired. And then we go in, we feed them, and then they have a period of time where they have to produce their homework, and we do it, and then you go back to labor. So just kind of mom things, like where's your homework, how are you doing in school?
Right.
The courts are certainly doing that, and Judge Williams absolutely was right on top of all that. But yeah, your mom brain kicks in once in a while.
Well, and
Outstanding.
and it also lets you know that you care about them as a person,
Yes.
and not just as case number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something
Right.
like that.
Do you find that kids tend to respond more to that, or toward do they tend to want to get better, or does it take some kind of consequence? What tends to motivate people?
Well, just like my own kids, you have to find the hot button with
Right.
every kid. Some kids it's maybe their electronic gaming, maybe some kids it's a sport situation. So a lot of the families aren't dynamic, and school hasn't been a priority. So you really got to kind of find that niche for kids, and that's why a team approach is good, because you don't know what the child's needs are. And most of the kids are there at the troubling time for all kids, when you start becoming a young teenager and you're pressing boundaries. So they're pressing boundaries and not having anybody establish boundaries for them. So that's what probation is doing. They're sort of an extension of trying to create those boundaries. So there's often a time where they are non-responsive and they keep getting in trouble. I saw a young lady yesterday who was in detention, was getting in fights in detention, and had a worse report than when she was there before. So, you ask, why are you doing this? Well, I don't know. And so the young mind has to keep thinking, okay, negative action, negative consequence, and it takes a while to kick in. That's why you have to be patient. And some kids take 4 or 5 years, and then the next thing you know, bam, I'm ready, I want to go in the military, I want to go in this technical school, I want to try to go to college. You just have to wait them out.
Okay.
And that is a great opportunity and approach to take. We're out of time. If you were to speak to an individual or family about the opportunity to get help and wholeness and healing, what would the Honorable Judge Terre Vandervoort tell that individual and family?
I think you have to start with the basis of love. Love for our children, love for your community, and you have to know that you need to reach out for help. Everybody needs help.
They certainly do. Thank you for being one of those agents of help. Thanks for coming on with us, and keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Tricia Farr, we have an opportunity to have a wonderful team member with us, and it is comforting to know that Terre Vandervoort is on the case, pardon the pun.
It is.
Thank you for joining us for Road to Recovery. If you are struggling or need help or hope or wholeness or healing, give the Recovery Center a call, 687-4500, or stop by and see them at 201 South Columbus Street in downtown Lancaster. Join us next time as we continue to journey down this road to recovery.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.